We're a podcast where we count down our top picks in a variety of categories as a springboard into deeper or dumber conversations about art, media, and popular culture. I'm Scott Cassidy. I'm a filmmaker, a screenwriter, and our resident expert on all things cinematic.
And I'm Colby Cuppernell, a writer, an English teacher, and the lists expert on all things literary.
All right. How you doing, Colby?
I don't know, man. I'm kind of stressed about this list.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I had fun with this one.
And it was my idea, and
I know.
I don't know.
Tripped yourself up, I guess.
I did. I tripped myself up.
All right. Well, before we get into this week's list, our top 10 guilty pleasures, at the beginning of episodes, we like to quickly go over anything left over from last week, any feedback, stuff like that. Do you have anything from last week?
Let's see. Top 10 TV comedies.
I got a quick correction.
Oh, yeah.
I looked it up. Happy Endings got 3 seasons, not 1.
3 seasons? Really?
Yeah, I don't remember that as much. I think the point remains it was off the air too soon.
Way too soon. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little.
You know what? Now that you
there.
mention it, like at least the second season I remember, but
yeah, now I vaguely do remember it came back a little bit, but I don't think they were long, and it didn't get an ending or anything. Like it got canceled.
Yeah, and it was way underappreciated.
Yes, so that little extra honorable mention at the end still stands.
And man, it's a good show. You need to watch it.
Yeah,
if you can track it down anywhere. I don't even know where it's trackable.
I think it's on some streaming service. Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, something.
I don't know. It's 2019. You can find it somewhere.
Yeah, everything's everywhere. All right. So I have one bit of feedback from last episode that I have to mention or I'll be in trouble.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So last week, our top 10 TV comedies. I think your number 8 was an Amazon original called Catastrophe, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I've never seen Catastrophe, and so you described it for our listeners and also for me. A little summary of what it's about, all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure when you were done, I said something along the lines of, all right, well, you sold me. I'll check that out for sure very soon.
And Emily had already told you about it.
Yeah.
I knew what that was going to be.
So like, I think only like 4 weeks ago, we had finished watching whatever show we were watching together, and we needed a new show. And she's like, I've heard of this show on Amazon. It's a comedy. It's called Catastrophe. And she described it to me just as you did. And then my response was, I don't know. That doesn't sound that great. So then when she heard the pod, which she listened to it, and I walked in on her listening to this part, and then it got to me going, oh, yeah, sounds great, dude. I'll check it out for sure. She shot me a icy dagger look that stabbed me right through my soul. And I was like, oh, no.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so she basically said if I did not bring this up here in the feedback section, that she would leave our podcast a 1-star review. Can you believe that?
Holy crap, that's a hell of a threat.
She threatened us. I was like, wow.
When you said, when the word leave came out of your mouth, I thought, whoa. And then the 1-star review followed. But
okay.
Nonetheless, still a bold threat. Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys, hold on. You've been together how long? Like dating plus marriage?
Oh.
I mean, it's got to be what? Like
you're putting me on the spot.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Now you're going to get another bad look. Sorry.
Oh, man.
You better get this right.
Is bad. We've been married for 12 years, and we were together 2.5 before we got married. So like 14 and a half years. Yeah.
So that, Emily, must be the difference between 21 years and 14 and a half, apparently. Either that or it just shows what a fantastic listener Scott is in your house.
Yeah, well,
I don't know whether or not to apologize to Emily or say you're welcome, because now she gets to watch the show.
Yeah, no, I think it's on to me. Sorry, honey, my bad. We will watch it very soon.
Why am I taking any of the heat for this? This is all
no,
you.
it's all on me. Yeah, no, this is me. My bad.
Oh, man.
So anyway.
You know what though? Like this is a pretty common thing. Like it always makes me mad. There's someone in my life who I know, I'm not going to name them because then I'll get a pissed off phone call and I don't want to deal with that. But there's someone in my life and I constantly tell this person about bands they should listen to. And no, that's terrible. I've heard about them and I don't want to listen to it. Da 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 da. And then like 3 years later, I'll get a text or a phone call being like, "Hey, have you ever heard of blah blah blah?" Like, no, tell me all about them.
This isn't me, right?
You're no, it's like not
low key. All right,
yeah.
All right. Thank goodness. Yeah. No, it's tricky with marriages in the age of like streaming television. Like, you got to be careful.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Like, I find myself getting episodes ahead and getting, chewed out for it. She'll watch things without me and it'll piss me off in return. So I understand.
Well, see,
but you're like, oh.
Yep. It's completely necessary to have separate accounts on like Netflix, right? And all that. But
no, don't have that.
At the same time, it's dangerous because you might get an episode ahead, whereas you might notice if you're sharing an account on it. I don't know. We run into this same exact problem all the time. And
if you play an episode and let the credits go all the way to the end, it'll like reset the little graphic on the bottom. It'll look like it hasn't been played.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever done that. I'm just saying.
Well, that doesn't work if you're like 5 minutes in. Then you got to do a lot of finagling.
Well, yeah. True.
I don't know. And this is I don't know how true this is in your house, but it's definitely true in mine. Is we are on like completely opposite sleep schedules. So Becky is very, very much a morning person, and I am the farthest thing from. I'm a night owl, and so
we're
she's
exactly
in
the
bed
same.
at like 9 o'clock every night, passed out.
Oh, so, us too.
I'm like, I can't. I don't.
And I'm up till midnight 1 every night.
Yep,
so
me too.
I mean, oftentimes I fill that 3-hour gap with like a movie. That's where I do a lot of my stuff that she wouldn't be interested in. Like, oh, there's this great Taiwanese film that came out last year. I'm like, that's when I watch it.
Right. And I do that too, but not with Taiwanese films, but with, the things I want to watch. But,
well, okay. Yeah.
But the problem is you don't have any time to like actually carve out to watch stuff together because kids.
Yeah. We generally pick like a show and like, this is our show. No one go ahead. It'll take us a while, but we'll only watch this together.
That's funny. I guarantee like every married couple or living together couple right now is nodding going, yep, yes, we do the same, because that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, that's how you have to do it.
We had that's why it took me so long to get through Stranger Things, because the kids have got to be gone at like 7 p.m. Hadley's fine, she's asleep, but Jack, he has to be over at his grandmother's or his cousins or something like that for us to get anything in.
Yeah, no, it's a conundrum. I have to admit, I've seen a couple TV seasons twice, every now and then, having to pretend it was the first time, the second time. But, you got to do what you got to do.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my feedback from last week.
Yeah, I definitely get a lot of going on Netflix and going, what the hell is this? How did this get on?
Yeah. What are you watching? All right.
Yeah. So, anyway. Yep, totally understand.
All right.
So, Emily, back to 5-star, I hope.
Yes, please. Don't take our rating. Jeez. All right. And that goes for all of you listening, damn it. No. All right. So, let's go ahead and move on. What do you think? Top 10 guilty pleasures?
Top 10 guilty pleasures.
Thanks for listening to Lists. This podcast is so much more fun when we get to interact with you. So send us your lists. Tell us when you agree or disagree with ours. Send us ideas for list topics for future episodes. Join the conversation. You can reach us directly by emailing us at listthepod@gmail.com. That's listthepod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All of them are at listthepod. And you can always find every episode of this podcast, links to all our social media, polls, and all kinds of other fun stuff on our website, liststhepodcast.com. And now let's get back to the top 10 guilty pleasures.
All right, welcome back. Before we get started on our top 10 guilty pleasures, I think we should probably review any rules that we came up with on the last episode.
Yes, right. I don't think we had much, right?
Yeah, this one we left pretty open-ended. I think the only thing we really came up with was don't be an idiot and have it be, your Tootsie Rolls or something like that.
Right. Stick to media. Yeah.
Which is funny because when I asked for my wife's help with what my guilty pleasures are, she went right to food. The only things she gave me were deep and cutting personal failings. And she went on for quite some time. She had an extensive list. It's like
she reached in her pocket. It's funny you asked. Yeah, I have a list right here.
I've got a top 50 with 50 honorable mentions.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and she's like rattling these things off. And I'm like, good God. I'm like,
that's not a guilty pleasure. Those are my failings, woman.
Yeah,
all right.
There's a difference between ways I suck at life and guilty pleasure.
Okay. Right. You know what? That brings up, maybe we should define guilty pleasure.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we should do top 10 ways we suck at life.
No, that'd be too hard.
I could never cut that down.
No, it's too long. So I've been working off a certain definition when I made this list. And so I want to make sure we're kind of on the same page.
All right.
So for me, I found a definition that's like a guilty pleasure is whatever, film, TV, music, whatever, that you enjoy despite understanding that it's not generally held in high regard or is seen as like weird.
Yeah. I mean, so why you got to get all fancy with it? I mean, the gist of it is, right? A guilty pleasure is something that you like, but that generally people understand is not good.
Right. Okay. Just making sure.
Or that I would add to, or people dislike or mock for other reasons.
I suppose. I didn't really go that far, I don't think. But, I mean, we'll see. I honestly, my entire top 10 here, I really honestly do not feel guilty about any of them. I mean, guilty pleasure is just a phrase. That's what it means.
Yeah, see, that's part of what made this really hard for me, is I was like, I don't feel that guilty about these things.
And I think that's fine, because that's why it's on your guilty pleasure list.
There might be one on here that I'm like, okay, that's...
well, okay, there might be a few. There might be a few. All right. And actually, that brings up something that I wanted to talk to you about. And we didn't think of this last episode when we were talking about our regulations and rules for this list. How in the world did you order your list? Like, is it from most guilt or like least guilty to most guilty or least pleasure to most pleasure? Like, how did you order it?
So, yeah, if I'm understanding you correctly, so I kind of ran into this as well. There were two ways to think about this. One of them being I think that this is the best quality thing, but most people think that it's not that great. Or who cares what I think about the quality of it? This is the one I feel guiltiest about.
Right. So which one did you put as number one? Did you do it either of those ways strictly? Or
honestly, I kind of erred more towards I feel guiltier about it. So the higher up on my list it is, the guiltier I feel about it.
Interesting. I leaned the other way.
Oh, okay. So you went like a quality.
My
type
number one is like one that I think is actually good.
I see.
Not that I followed it super well. Like, I don't know. I'm not the orders. I took it seriously, but it's a little just. I don't know. Sure, that's the order.
Well, let me add this because I think there's a third way.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. Let's throw a wrench in it. So the third way I think is, and this occurred to me as I was really struggling with the ordering, was well, what are the ones that either my wife or my friends or general listeners would think that I should feel guiltiest about?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so mine, I would say, actually ended up being more of a hybrid between here's what I do feel guiltiest about with a mixture of what I think other people will think I should feel guiltiest about. Does that make sense?
I gotcha. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Interesting.
So yeah, like,
all right.
I don't know. You kind of see it as the list develops, how that
plays. We can talk about it once we know each other's lists, and we can maybe get back into that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do
Nothing to do.
Top 10 guilty pleasures.
The list. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Who's going to kick it off this week?
I don't know. Who kicks us off?
You take it.
Oh, okay. Throwing it to me.
It's either a gentlemanly thing or a complete dick move.
I'm going to go with dick move, but that's just because that's usually your move. So we'll see.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, I'm going to start us off at number 10 with a television show.
Oh, all right. TV show.
All right. TV show. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of it, and probably most of you have seen an episode or two. So very popular. It ran for 20 years on NBC. The original Law and Order.
Okay. All right. Yep.
So, yeah, it is incredibly formulaic.
Oh, yeah.
Not much character development. Maybe over the course of like seasons, you get like a mini arc for these people. But I love the show. Yeah. I think I've seen maybe every single episode of the original Law and Order.
Good God, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things, you throw it on the afternoon when you got nothing to do, and it's on TNT, and you just watch 5 of them.
Yeah.
That's just, it's great. Obviously Sam Waterston as Jack McCoy is great. Probably my favorite detective is Jerry Orbach's Lenny Briscoe. And I liked several of his partners. Probably Jesse L. Martin as Ed Green was my favorite pairing. But Benjamin Bratt was good too with him.
Yeah, this is all going over my head because like the original Law and Order I didn't ever watch. I caught episodes of...
You never watched that?
No, I caught episodes of SVU here and there, but...
Now, you see, I think the original is superior because it actually is Law and Order. Like, you watch SVU and there's maybe 5 minutes on like lawyer stuff, the courtroom stuff, if at all. Like, it's basically just a cop show. Like, I don't know. It's just Law SVU. I don't know why they call it and Order. Anyway, that's my SVU rant. I like SVU too, but I like the even 30 minutes figuring out the criminal, arresting them. Next 30 minutes, convicting them, and it's lawyer stuff. Like, it's very even. It's good stuff.
Takes you through the process.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love, like, it's a very comfortable formula. And yeah, they shot it 20 years. It was shot in location, on location in New York City. And it was a source of acting jobs for up-and-coming performers in New York for decades.
Yeah, everybody debuted on Law and Order.
Like, everyone had, if anything, it was the guys like, hey, do you remember so-and-so? Just like one quick scene. Everyone who's ever been an actor in New York, basically, did a few stints on Law and Order. It really buoyed the New York film and television industry. Like, that's, I think, part of why it aired for so long. It was so many local jobs.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. It was an institution. Law and Order, my number 10.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Let's see now. One of the first things to come to mind for me when I was starting to brainstorm this list was shows like that I like, SVU and like ER.
Yeah,
but ultimately,
it's a formulaic, not necessarily great quote unquote show, but that it's comfortable and I enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. And for me, it just came down to I didn't watch them enough.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't watch all of them. I watched Law and Order for sure.
Yeah. Well, rather than listen to 5 hours of Law and Order, I read books.
Really? Really? We're going to try to like intellectually shame me? You cannot. This is the guilty pleasures list. Damn it. Law and Order.
You're going to have plenty of room for retort.
All right, let's go.
All right. So number 10.
You're number 10.
So number 10 for me it's a category. And I picked one that is representative of that category. So
okay, makes sense.
My number 10.
What are we talking about? What medium?
Film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, there's a little TV here and there, but mostly film is what I'm talking about. So my number 10 is the reboot of The Magnificent Seven that came out like 2 years ago.
Oh, as representative of shitty Hollywood reboots.
Yes. Okay. But no, that's not the category.
Oh,
the category
okay. What's the category?
I wrote it down as mediocre westerns.
Yes, I do know this about you. You are a sucker for, I would say, below average westerns.
Yeah. Listen, obviously, I love above average westerns, but
right.
I am not above watching a mediocre western, like the remake of
even shitty ones.
Yeah, even actually really terrible ones I'll watch. But like the remake of 3:10 to Yuma with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe.
That wasn't terrible.
That wasn't too bad.
That wasn't terrible.
But I liked it. There are a whole lot of mediocre.
Magnificent Seven's pretty bad. So yeah, good choice.
You know what? Screw you. I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Generally, for me to have fun watching something, it has to be good. So that hurt.
Really,
for me.
You were just talking about Law and Order.
Yeah, which was good. It was so good. The formula worked for 20 years.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't even know where to start with that.
We can just move on.
Yeah.
We might have to do that a lot in this episode. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, I think so. But I disagree. I think that the reboot of The Magnificent Seven was humorous. It was entertaining. It was just, it was one of those movies you go, you get your Coke, you get your popcorn, you sit down and you just watch it and turn your brain off and have some fun. Damn it.
I suppose. I guess my problem stems from calling it The Magnificent Seven and using that general plot. Like, just make a dumb, fun popcorn, shitty Western then. Like, why do it as a remake of, like, a great movie that was a remake of an even greater movie? Like, what's the point?
Fair. I mean, yeah, and you're three generations away now from the original concept, and obviously it's been watered down. I don't know. Yeah. I liked it, man. I liked it. I thought.
Hey, no, that's
Denzel
all right.
was
that's what this list is for. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke was good in it. I like Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke kind of elevates everything he's in, and he does.
That's true.
He chooses such terrible scripts. I don't know, like I know why. I think because I know that he's big on like he's a big fan of doing theater. If I'm not mistaken, he kind of is a partner in or runs a theater company, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And so he's a big theater guy, and I think he prefers that. So I think he does movies just to kind of fund all that crap.
Well, I think he does movies to fund that, and then every now and then he'll do a movie because he thinks it's good.
Oh yeah,
like First Reformed was
really good. Yeah. All of the Before trilogy, all really good. Yeah. Training Day, obviously we've talked about on this pod even.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like he gives you he'll choose 4 terrible movies for every one good movie he does. But
yeah, I mean, you got to get those checks.
He elevates bad movies by being in them.
Yeah, he doesn't phone it in bad movies.
Which is really weird. He doesn't phone it in a bad movie. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. He does a good job.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So mediocre or less Westerns at number 10 for
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, knowing you, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, good pick. All right.
Okay. All right. What do you got at 9?
All right, 9. I've got a book or a series of books.
Oh, me too.
And, okay. And I know for a fact that you have read these.
Okay.
So I have, in general, Star Wars books,
Yes.
and specifically the Grand Admiral Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn at number 9. So that came out in 91, 92, 93.
I very vividly remember those books.
Well,
I remember, I don't want to say it was the first book I ever bought with my own money, but it was close to it. Because I remember, I remember my cousin was reading it, the first one, and I saw the second one, and I begged my mom to let me get it, and she did. But yeah, anyway, keep going.
Okay, so so this is right. So Return of the Jedi came out in 1983.
Yeah.
And then Star Wars was kind of over, right? And then late 80s, early 90s, like 1990, they started to publish novels set in like the Star Wars universe that take place after the movies, where you continue to follow Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia and whatnot.
I think the proper phrasing there, though, is they realized that they could make a shit ton of money.
Well, yes. So they hired people to write some books. Yeah. So, and the Thrawn trilogy that came out in 91 and 93 is, I think, probably the best books to come out of that, arguably.
I mean, it's tough to say. There are hundreds of them. So,
well, there's a lot now. But it introduced like some notable characters if you're a Star Wars nerd, like Mara Jade and Talon Karrde and then of course Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, who actually they transferred over into the actual
Star Wars Rebels. And,
God, this is so nerdy right now.
Hey, this is a guilty pleasures list. It's gonna go there.
Why it's guilty.
This is not gonna be the nerdiest thing on my list.
Well, yeah, you have it at 9.
So yeah, well, right.
It's only words from here.
So it's the continued adventures of Luke and Han and Leia, and Admiral Thrawn was a great villain. Who's like,
I think he's overrated.
I mean, for these relatively shitty books, he's pretty good.
I do agree that trilogy was really a very good read. And Han and Leia have kids, and you get to see their kids, and
they get married and stuff,
and their kids obviously are Jesus, this is getting even worse.
Just go for it. Just go for it.
They are, they can use the Force, and so Luke trains them, and they go through their own shit. My God.
One of them turns bad, and one has to kill the other. It gets dark.
God, it's a miracle we ever managed to impregnate women.
Wow. Especially with you phrasing it that way. Jesus. All right.
Oh, man.
But I will say that this Thrawn trilogy is kind of somewhat credited with revitalizing like the Star Wars franchise.
Yes, it is.
In the book, The Secret History of Star Wars, the authors suggest that Lucas saw how well these books were doing, and that maybe inspired him to do the prequel trilogy.
Whoa. So Timothy Zahn's trilogy is to blame for that horror show?
No, that's George Lucas. All right.
My God. Maybe this is bad.
And well, I struggle putting on the guilty pleasures list because I don't know if it's genuinely considered that bad. In 2011, it was voted into the NPR's top 100 science fiction books of all time.
Really?
Placing it number 88.
Wow. That's surprising. I mean, all right, it may not be considered. So sci-fi critics probably are going to be, and I know that there are quite a few series and individual novels from this kind of extended universe that they did, right? That were well received by sci-fi critics. I think that the guilty pleasure aspect of this comes less from them and more from, Triumph, the insult comic dog, and the general public who would gladly let us know just how ashamed of this we should be.
You're a nerd. You read books about Star Wars. Yeah.
Hey, I remember sitting on the bus in elementary school reading those books and getting made fun of for it even back then.
You know, I honestly think it would probably happen less now because Star Wars there's a lot more of it now, and it's pretty mainstream and not nerdy so much now.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, all right. Well, let us know, I guess. I have no problem with it. The Thrawn Trilogy by Timothy Zahn at number 9.
Number 9. All right. I like it.
Okay.
So my number 9 is also a book series. It
nice.
is not sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
And so the guilty aspect...
Is it Western? No, okay.
No, actually. And I did think about... shitty Westerns is also a category of books that I tend to read. But it did...
You only get to pick one category
list
of shitty Westerns. Yeah, okay.
Actually, shitty Western books are so much worse than mediocre and shitty Western movies. So at least you're done with a shitty Western movie in an hour and a half. A shitty Western book, you really got to push through. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Because at least I can care about, the Star Wars characters and stuff like that. It's tough to care about a shitty Western hero. Anyway.
Gotcha. All right. So what is your number 9?
All right. Number 9, for me, the reason that this is a guilty pleasure, I think, comes less from critics and more from kind of the world that I run in. Just, being the literary voice of this podcast, right? Obviously, and
yeah, all your friends and colleagues are stuffy literary snobs. I got you. Exactly what you're saying, right? Okay, continue.
Yeah, well,
I'm not entirely wrong. All right,
everybody, no matter how stuffy they are with their literary preferences, has got some guilty pleasures. You have to. You got to have a palate cleanser.
You got to have some quick reads. Yeah.
Everybody needs a beach read. Whatever. All right. So anyway, they're actually not that bad about it. But the point is being someone who teaches literature for a living, the fact that I am a fan of and a reader of the Jack Reacher novels by Lee Child is probably a little surprising, and so therefore a guilty pleasure. And look, and I say that critics love these books, actually, so they're not, the critics aren't the issue there. It's more me feeling guilty about reading these because the writing is god awful. I mean, it's bad. And Reacher is just this stone of a character. And the plots are predictable enough, but here's why I read them. There are kind of two ways that I read these Jack Reacher novels. So the first is, between reading denser, heavy literary stuff and marking up the pages and all of that stuff, I generally need a little bit of a break, just like I said, a palate cleanser. And so for me, I'll usually just kind of between, volumes of Nausgaard's My Struggle, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to throw a Jack Reacher novel in here real quick. And then and then the other reason is I usually kind of do a concurrent reading thing. There's what I'm reading as like an actual reader and thinker. And then there's what I'm reading as a teacher, if that makes any sense.
Okay, sure.
So we do choice reading time with our students, and it's really important that they see you as the teacher reading. And I don't want to always be reading something super stuffy and literary during that time when they're all reading stuff as well, because I want to be able to talk to them about what I'm reading. And so I kind of, I go back and forth. Sometimes I'll be reading something like a Jack Reacher novel so that I can then hand it to a kid and they'll read it, and that's a good way to get them interested in something. They see me reading it, they see me moving through it, and I can explain it to them, and then I pass it off, But then I want them to be developing more literary tastes. So I will, I try and mix it up. But I usually don't go super heavy on the stuff that I read in front of my students.
Okay.
Every once in a while.
Cool.
Every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, I've never read any of the Jack Reacher books. I've seen the first movie, not even the second.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're there.
Okay. Kind of generic spy action things. Right?
I would say they're much, much better than James Patterson.
Okay.
And I prefer them to Bond because it doesn't have the kind of stuffy British kind of thing, which is ironic because Lee Child is British and he's writing an American character.
Interesting.
But I don't know. Reacher's kind of like this vagabond rogue who he's totally off the grid and doesn't have credit cards, doesn't have bank accounts, doesn't have, he just kind of lives going place to place and buys.
So your ideal life is why you like.
That's kind of where I was headed with that. It was like,
okay,
what I would like to do is just drop off the face of the earth and not have to deal with people ever.
Yes, I know this about you. Yeah.
But yeah, and then he always gets.
I see the appeal.
He always gets pulled into some shenanigans wherever he ends up. You know, and there's your series right there. So it's fun.
That sounds like a good page turner.
Yeah,
yeah.
We'll make a return to Jack Reacher later on in my list for different reasons.
Oh, okay.
Little hint there. Wink, wink.
Little tease there. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. I like it. The Jack Reacher novels, number 9.
Yeah, and I should say my dad's going to be pissed off about this. I'm pissed my dad off a lot on this. So what do we have for things that I've said that piss off my dad?
That you're going to cry more when Harrison Ford dies.
That's
versus him.
That's number 1. Yeah.
Called Chicago Shitty.
Yeah.
The band.
Being appalled that middle-aged white people are so obsessed with Chicago.
Yeah, you got that going against you.
And then I feel like there was one more between that and this, but by the end of this episode. And
now Jack Reacher is too low? Is that what you're saying? Well,
calling Jack Reacher a guilty pleasure, I think, and calling the writing crappy and stuff like that. Because I know my dad's a big fan of the books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's a fan of them in the similar way.
Yeah, I mean, he's a smart guy.
And you'll be all right.
He reads intelligent books as well. And I think for him, in his line of work especially, he needs quick reads. It's just something to pass the time while he's sitting in the airport.
All right.
So yeah.
Okay, I like it.
All right. So number 8, what do you got?
Oh man. All right. This is going to be hard. If you thought my number 9 was nerdy.
Oh, good God. All right.
And I'm going to be speaking like a foreign language to you here, I think.
Jeez.
And you're going to know nothing about this, basically. So keep an open mind, and I'll have to describe a little bit to you, okay? That goes for all of you listening.
I just want to put like an asterisk on this episode and be like, you know what? I'm cool. All right.
Please, I'm cool. Please,
I'm cool.
Yeah, we're not. It's okay. No. All right.
Oh, man.
So my number 8 comes from the medium of video games.
Oh.
Yeah. But the worst part is it's not playing a video game.
Jesus Christ. Please tell me you're not one of those people that watches other people play video games.
I am one of those people that watches other people play video games.
Holy shit.
So my number 8.
Are you kidding me?
And I was specific about it. It is specifically video game tournament streams in the fighting game community.
Dude, please tell me that this is something you did in the past and do not currently do.
No, I do it currently.
When and for what reason?
All right. Well, I will explain. My favorite game is Mortal Kombat.
Oh my God. All right.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta just let me talk. Again, all right.
Somehow managed 2 children.
Yeah, I'm doing great. So Mortal Kombat 9 came out in 2011, and that was kind of just at the beginning of I don't know if it was as much streaming then. It was more like putting videos up on YouTube of players, battling it out against each other, right? And that has progressed through now a few more Mortal Kombat games. Mortal Kombat 11 came out earlier this year. And, you can go on Twitch or a platform like that, and you can watch people stream themselves play. And then there are like these tournaments with hundreds of entrants where people go to Vegas or the UK or Florida or all over for tournaments to play Mortal Kombat, and they stream it. There's commentators, there's like a broadcast booth. It's esports is, it's becoming a thing. Lots of sports team owners are buying esport teams. So the best players have sponsors. They wear jerseys with sponsors on it. And there's prize money, and it's kind of like watching a sport. I mean, I guess it's not that different, right? You're watching someone else do a competitive thing that you could do yourself, not as good, and you just watch it. And it's the competition. I like that. It's kind of like watching sports.
So I feel like something really important just happened.
Okay.
For the first time in known history, ladies and gentlemen, and you got to hear it here on Lists the Podcast, you just listened to a man's virginity grow back.
This is not something where we are going to shame each other.
Back.
You know
it's
what?
Right there. Congratulations.
These are guilty pleasures, and that is okay.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
And you watch this?
Yeah. Like, there are top players, you know their names, and you like have your favorites, and you're like, oh, so-and-so's playing so-and-so coming up later in the bracket. That'll be interesting.
Let me ask you this, okay?
Yeah.
What does your wife think of this?
Well, interesting you say
You just answered it.
No. I actually have an answer. She listened to the last podcast, like I talked about, the TV one, and she got to the end, and we were like, and next week we're doing top 10 guilty pleasures. She turns and looks at me, and she goes, you better do the stupid Mortal Kombat thing. The first words out of her mouth.
I called it.
Yeah. So,
oh, man. Emily, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just want you to know, Emily, that I tried for the entire time I've known him since we were 14 to make him somewhat right, and I failed. I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi with Darth Vader.
Oh my God. You better be careful. We're only on number 8. You got some things to go, buddy. Like, don't dig yourself too big a hole here.
Man. All right. Now, I have to be careful here, too, because not that I think that many of my students will listen to this podcast, but if they do, they actually are a big fan of Googling their teachers, so who knows what'll pop up. But if they do, I know that a lot of my students are very into whatever that website you said was. Don't say it again.
Twitch.
You're just making it worse for yourself.
It's a popular website. It's fine to say.
Very into it, and this is a very common thing with younger people. And actually, I know that my school has been working to put together...
Blocking the website?
No. Well, they should be. I don't know if they are.
Oh, putting together like an esports team?
Yes, they're putting together... It's like an esports club or something like that.
Right.
I don't... Man.
No. Honestly, like as a full, hello, fellow kids person here, I can see the appeal. It's very similar to watching baseball or football or whatever on TV, right?
Dare.
No, you're watching other people compete in a game as you sit still and do nothing. Oh. Like, it's the same concept on a base level.
A very, very base level.
I don't know if it's very, very.
Oh, man.
And unlike maybe like professional athletes, like I think I am closer in skill level at playing Mortal Kombat to Sonic Fox than I am to being able to beat Roger Federer at tennis.
I would say
like,
you're equally far away. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to look up videos on how to hit X better?
Okay, it's a little more complicated than that. And I actually play it quite a bit. I'm pretty good.
So what you want to do is you want to hit with the pad of the thumb and then slide through the X. All right? It's really important.
Right. You know, you ought to look it up. It's harder than you think.
No way. Oh, my God.
Well, the same people win every time. Like, there's clearly a skill gap. So
what are you saying? You're going to jump in there?
No, I'm saying I'm not that good, but I'm closer to the best at that than I am to at other sports. So other things that you're watching in this, you can like play the game yourself on that same couch you're sitting on.
Jeez.
And be relatively, still far away, but a little closer in skill level.
Well, you can put points on anything, and it's a game.
Well, sure.
I mean...
And people will watch people competing in all types of games, bowling and darts and video games. It seems like a natural evolution to me.
Well, I mean, they're making money, so obviously it's doing something right. But nevertheless.
Yeah, and just last month I was watching a live stream of EVO, which is like one of the big tournaments for fighting games. Stop. And it had over 100,000 viewers live. So it's and that's nowhere near as big as like the Fortnite.
And you know what that teaches us? What? That there are at least 100,000 virgins.
All right.
Oh,
hilarious. There's nothing wrong with liking that. Everyone should enjoy it, guiltily or not. Whatever works for you.
Never be ashamed of what you like. I tell that to my son all the time because people are always, no matter what you like, people are going to make fun of you for it. And I tell my son all the time, I said, don't you ever, ever, ever apologize for what you enjoy. That's bullcrap. So I'll say that. And then in the next sentence, I'll tell you that you should be ashamed of yourself. You're a grown ass man.
And I do feel guilty about it. Hence it is on this list.
Well, it's not high enough. I can tell you that.
Oh, you haven't heard what's coming next.
Oh, God. Can I just put my list aside? I just want to spend this time on yours. I feel like it's so much more fun.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, man.
Honestly, that's probably the most out there one. But it's a thing that I do and I enjoy and I see the appeal of.
Do it?
Oh, and, just every now and then, late at nights or...
Oh, man.
You
need a magazine subscription or something. I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
I do. I subscribe to Scientific American, fucker.
And he's published in peer-reviewed journals.
With the master's degree.
One time.
Hey, I'm 1 for 1.
1 for 1. Oh, my God.
Submitted to one thing one time.
Here we go.
So there you go. Batting 1,000.
Yeah. What's the circulation on that bad boy?
It's got to be at least half of the people involved in making it.
I'm sure even the people who make that journal don't even read it.
Yeah, they probably don't.
If that's how that was actually one of the turning points for me in deciding to leave creative writing programs. Was when I realized that I didn't even read the literary journals that I was published in.
Yeah.
Like they would send me a couple copies of them and I would just chuck them in a box in the basement. I never looked at another person's story, and that's such a dick move because writers need to support each other, but my God.
Well, that's a whole separate podcast on the innumerable flaws in academia, but we'll get to that some other time.
And also just especially the area of academia that we both went into, kind of like the humanities area. The creative is more for me because in the humanities, like I can imagine if I was let's say, getting a PhD in philosophy, reading some of the newer things that were coming out.
Wanting to kill yourself. Yeah.
But the hard thing about creative writing or film or stuff like that is, and the reality of it is that the people that you're reading are also the people you're competing with. It's competitive. Mm-hmm. I'm very lucky that the creative writers that I've gotten to know and that I've stayed close with they don't view it as a cutthroat type of thing. They're very generous with their time and with their promotion of other people's work and stuff like that. But that is extraordinarily atypical. Yeah. I don't know. And it's a tough thing, and it's not for this podcast, but I mean, it is a fascinating conversation. If anybody is thinking about going into one of those fields, I would definitely say email us. If you're interested in film,
we'll be happy to talk to you.
Or anything with communications, shoot Scott an email. And ask him questions about his experience with it. If you're interested in creative writing, I'm always happy to talk to people about, what you can expect and what you shouldn't expect, and what you can gain from being in one of those programs and what you can't. Because they have their benefits. There are a lot of things that I really appreciated and got from them, but there are also a lot of problems. Yeah. Anyway, that was a diversion, but
sorry, got us off topic. All right,
go ahead. Anyway, Scott watches people play video games, so there you go.
Yes, that's what we've covered.
If that's who you'd like advice from.
I think you need advice from that person, but go ahead.
Right. This is why I want to go full on Jack Reacher and just cut myself off so I don't have to be watching people play video games.
Yeah, you are a curmudgeon-y old man so far in this podcast, but okay, go ahead.
It's not the podcast, it's life, man.
Well, that's true. You are on brand.
Well, we talked about this with Curb and on the last week's episode.
Right. Yeah.
Larry David is my spirit animal.
That's true.
Anyway, all right. So where are we at? 8?
You're at number 8. Yeah.
It's going to take us 8 hours to get through this. This is...
Well, if you keep going off on random tangents.
All right, whatever. You literally talked about these video game tournaments for like 7 minutes, so...
Yeah, that's on topic. That's my list.
Yeah, well, give us the Cliff Notes version of that shit.
I could have gone on for much longer.
Please don't.
Can you say you're number 8 already? Jesus.
All right.
No matter what it is, even if I love it, I'm going to fucking tear it apart.
Yeah, you kind of have to at this point. And, well,
I do.
All right. So, actually, good luck with this because I'm pretty sure you agree with it. So,
oh, damn it! All right,
all right. Number 8 for me. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Coldplay's first 3 albums.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, and now Coldplay, obviously, God knows what happened to them, and whatever. If you think Coldplay got better,
you can think that.
Yeah, exactly. But it should be a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
My point is, people were hating on Coldplay from go. And I remember thinking to myself, like, really? I mean, yeah, like, it's not metal, right? But
they're not trying to be.
They're not trying to be. Like, it's...
Yeah.
They wrote...
A Rush of Blood to the Head is a great album.
It's a phenomenal album. And...
I think that to this day. Yeah.
I mean, it's been so long that I've listened to them. What was the third one? Was that X and Y? Or XY or whatever it was?
Oh, maybe.
I thought that album was...
It's on your list. Yeah, you don't know.
Well, that's because they got terrible.
Well, yeah. You know, I liked Viva La Vida or whatever it was.
Oh, I hated it so much.
Oh, really? I still liked that one. That, and then after that, I cut them.
And I remember too, because it came out right after, I'm going to keep calling it the wrong thing, X and Y or whatever. And man, we wore that out in college. Wore it out. And then, then that one came out, and I remember just thinking, oh my goodness.
I liked that one.
I tried so hard to like that one. But anyway, this one is on my list.
So early Coldplay.
And this is on my list, not so much because I feel guilty about it, but
it's that others would think you should feel guilty.
Yeah, you know what? The people at Pitchfork Media would think that it's something you should feel guilty about. And
not that they'll ever hear this. Their heads are too far up their own asses to ever hear this podcast.
I'm going to say it right now. And there has been some feedback that I get a little negative, but whatever. The people at Pitchfork are hipster assholes.
I have no further comment at this time.
No, don't act like you disagree with me.
I completely agree. Yeah, but go ahead.
They're hipster assholes, and they're wrong constantly.
Every now and then they're right, but yes, they are very
more than
wrong.
8 people listen to that band. They suck. Yeah. Shut up. Go wax your ironic mustache, put on your ironic suspenders, and go eat shit.
Yeah, sip a latte or something. I don't know, whatever you do.
Don't make fun of lattes, but all right.
Yeah, lattes are good.
I don't even know what a latte is, but it's coffee, right? Coffee's good.
It's coffee with like milk in it.
Yeah, they don't even drink that, right? They drink shitty beer and act like it's,
don't even get me started.
PBR, right? Aren't I so cool?
No, you're drinking piss water. But okay, go ahead.
I hate hipsters so much.
I know you do. Relax, old man. Relax.
There used to
no one's on your lawn.
Hold on. I'm going to do a check right now because I have my computer pulled up. There used to be this website that was one of my favorite things of all time. And it was called Look at This Fucking Hipster. And all it was just pictures of hipsters. It's still up there.
Oh, it's still there? Look at this fucking hipster.com or what?
No, it's it's not as good as it was way back in the day, but
okay.
Oh man, I'm looking right now, it's pretty good. All right. So for our listeners, it's look at this fucking hipster.tumblr.com. Now, circa like 2003 or whatever, probably more like 2007. I remember this website was because I was living in Wicker Park, Chicago, which anybody who knows anything about Chicago knows that that's like the hipster capital of America outside of Brooklyn. Boy, I'm turning off a lot of listeners right now.
You are? Yeah. What are you doing?
Screw hipsters, man.
Okay.
Anyway, I just remember I would look at this website and die laughing, and I could go around with a camera, and it would have just been endless. Fucking hipsters.
So anyway, the point is, Coldplay was good early on.
Yeah, unless you were a fucking hipster.
There you go.
Thanks for listening to Lists. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, if you like what we're doing, please leave us a rating and a review. 5 stars really helps us grow and get the word out, especially as this podcast is still really new. Thanks in advance, and now back to our top 10 guilty pleasures. Oh man! All right. So where are we at?
I like
7.
Oh, am I on to 7 now?
I can't wait. I'm like licking my chops right
now. No. It's a movie, and I know you've seen it, so
all right,
we can talk about it a little. It came out in 1987. It was absolutely a Star Wars ripoff, based upon a line of toys and then television cartoon. It is Masters of the Universe.
Oh.
That is Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. A very young Courtney Cox is in it.
That's right.
and Frank Langella as Skeletor.
Can I tell you something super trippy right now?
What's that?
As we sit here, I am wearing a Masters of the Universe t-shirt.
Wow. That's nice.
I've got He-Man front and center.
I love it. Number 7 for me. So this movie is a Star Wars ripoff. It is cheesy. The effects are cheap. The acting is bad.
Terrible.
Except for a couple exceptions.
No, there are no exceptions.
Frank Langella as Skeletor is great.
It's because anybody as Skeletor would be great.
Okay. Anyway, it was a critical and commercial failure. It grossed $17 million worldwide.
Oh God, it was so bad.
From a budget of $22 million. And I love it. It is a great movie. I have shown it to my 5-year-old son. He loved it.
Did Skeletor scare the crap out of him?
A little, yeah. No, Beastman scared the crap
Beastman was terrifying in that movie.
He bursts into rooms and will smack the hero, and then he's got shitty, cheap blood smeared on his face. And freaked out my son, though. It looked like real blood to him.
For those of
maybe I shouldn't have shown it to a 4-year-old.
Maybe not.
But, whatever.
For those of you who don't know what Masters of the Universe is, it's kind of like the Sharknado of the 80s, except that's
not true.
They actually thought it was going to be good.
Oh, they definitely thought it was going to be good. They had a sequel lined up.
The best part
were ready to
was
go.
Dolph Lundgren with his hair bleached blonde.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that was Dolph Lundgren's first leading role in a feature film following his successful turn in Rocky IV as Ivan Drago. So then he got the big starring role as He-Man in this franchise launcher, He-Man movie. And, he was terrible. But I loved him anyway. I don't know. It's actually not that bad of a story. It's kind of got an interesting framing device. It's we meet normal characters played by Courtney Cox and Barry Livingston on Earth.
Yeah,
and then
the MacGuffin ends up on Earth, and they've got to go and retrieve it.
Right.
It's pretty.
And so you got characters that represent you as the audience, going, "What is all this crazy shit?" Freaking out by it, right? So that's enjoyable.
Oh man.
And I will say the music is great. The musical score was composed by Bill Conti. It plays into the plot. There's a time travel type device that works by playing a tune.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And that tune is really good. The music is just with no irony at all. It's really good score. But yeah, it's a He-Man movie.
That's
and it's got... And they have, the bad guys have soldiers dressed in black armor that shoot laser blasters, so it's not directly Star Wars stormtroopers.
Can you imagine that meeting? They're like, oh, shit, what do we do?
We can't use stormtroopers. Let's make them black. No one will know.
Make them black.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you wouldn't make them purple. Skeletor wears purple, but whatever.
Well, not in that movie, he doesn't. But yeah,
that's true. That Skeletor was quite different from the cartoon Skeletor.
Yeah, Frank Langella in that role was awesome, though. He chews the scenery gladly. It's a really fun bad guy campy performance.
Oh, I think it was one of those things where an Oscar caliber actor knew that he was in a total piece of shit, and
so he just had fun with it.
Went for it.
Oh, and it's great. It really is.
I agree. I loved that movie when I was a kid, and I still love it.
And I think it's because, before the bad acting and the cheap effects, the structure of that script is not bad. It's pretty good. The dialogue's not great, but the structure of it's pretty solid.
Are you saying Dolph Lundgren struggles to deliver a line of dialogue?
Yeah, I'm maybe putting that out there. Shocking.
Wow.
Shocking take.
Hot take.
Hot take. And one more thing I want to mention before we move on from it. You know how in the Marvel movies now they have those post-credit stingers?
Yeah.
of, setting up the sequels and whatnot. One of, if not the first big budget American movie to have a post-credit stinger is Masters of the Universe.
That's it set the mark by which all other action movies are.
And actually, it's kind of cool. It's pretty. I mean, too bad there was no sequel because it, was a horrible flop. But
I'm sure that they're going to remake it any day now.
Yeah, they're working on it. It's been in the system for a few years now. It's supposed to start filming soon, coming out in 2021, and I'm sure it'll be bad too.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll be there opening day.
Hey, me too. It's a really fun, cheesy sci-fi 80s action movie.
Listen, if you grew up in the 80s and early 90s, you've already seen it.
You've probably already seen it. Yeah, it's worth seeing now. I think it holds up in just the same way it did back then. It's fun. It's fun.
That raises an interesting question about guilty pleasure versus cult classic.
Yeah, it has become a little bit of a cult classic.
You know what I mean? Like a cult classic is something that critics don't really like, but it's got a big fan base.
Which, to me, is like that fits a guilty pleasure definition.
Yeah, I think that cult classics are almost always guilty pleasures, but guilty pleasures are not necessarily always cult classics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Cult classics are like guilty pleasures that a lot of people share.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. It's a broadly shared guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there you go. Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe.
Number 7.
Good pick. I like it. I can't believe I'm actually that we did this on the day I'm wearing my Masters of the Universe t-shirt.
That's perfect timing.
Well, and you know why I am?
Why?
Because as I said before, I'm cool.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. Whatever you have to tell yourself.
Well, I think you lost your credibility.
I never proclaimed I was anything other than not cool.
All right. You ready for my number 7?
Hit me.
Okay. So I'm going to the world of art.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So guilty pleasure for me in the world of art is the work of Norman Rockwell.
Oh, interesting.
Now,
why guilty?
I mean, look, it's not Edward Hopper, he's not Picasso. He's not, it's pretty straightforward, I think that Norman Rockwell is to painting kind of what Lee Child and James Patterson almost are to the world of literature, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They kind of mass produce, they're very prolific. The stuff is not, it doesn't have the depth that you expect of, it's like you take a look at Hopper's Nighthawks, right? And you can sit there and talk about that painting for hours and hours, and there are entire books written about it and stuff like that. Nobody's doing that about Norman Rockwell's paintings. But the reason I enjoy Rockwell is I like the simplicity of it, especially for me, like his sports ones I really enjoy. Okay. I do have some issues with Rockwell, and I think it's, I don't know much about the guy, and maybe there's stuff in his biography that makes this the case, makes it more insidious than it actually is. But I think that Norman Rockwell's America, as he, drew and painted it, is, to me, it's that crock of crap America that you constantly hear people talking about,
Yeah, it's the idealized, 50s, everything is great America.
Right. And that, I can't stand when people are like, well, we just need this country to be like it was back in the good old days when everybody watched Leave It to Beaver and be like, and you mean the days when certain people couldn't sit in certain parts of the bus and there were different drinking fountains and all that fun stuff? It was good for you, but that doesn't mean that it was a great era. Anyway, so my kind of issue with Norman Rockwell is that I think that in a lot of people's heads, when they think about like what the ideal America looks like, right? They picture Norman Rockwell paintings. And
yeah, it's very pure, innocent American.
And it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a lie. And
yeah, it was used a lot on like magazine covers.
Yeah,
and stuff,
Saturday Evening Post, all that stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, but so that's my issue with it. But it doesn't necessarily take away all of my enjoyment of it. And like I said, I mostly I like his like paintings of like the little kids playing baseball and stuff like that. Now, yes, it's unfortunately it's all little white kids playing baseball, and you know,
well, because this is the good old days.
Right? Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's something enjoyable about his work. In its simplicity, and it's just kind of, you know,
that makes sense.
Actually, you know what I think it is, and people ask me like why Hopper's my favorite painter, and I always tell them that Hopper's paintings to me feel like short stories. They're there's a narrative happening there. You know, you're looking in on a story happening, and
it's like you paused a great movie.
Yes,
and you're like, what is going on here? Yeah, and
I feel like with Rockwell, there's an element of that happening. You know,
you paused on someone's ideal imagination of the country.
Yeah, right. And again, you know, a lot of what Rockwell was doing was to, I have to imagine, was to boost morale and stuff like that, and make people feel a certain way about the country in the midst of the Cold War and all of that stuff. So again, the sort of socio-political background of all of that complicates it tremendously. But on a base level, I enjoy, and like I could see, like if I was doing, you know, Jack's room when he was a little bit younger, putting like one of Rockwell's paintings of the kids playing baseball and stuff like that in there. So anyway,
okay.
I like it. Yeah.
All right. Number 7, paintings of Norman Rockwell.
Yep.
Good list, Colby. I like it.
Thank you.
So far. All right. I guess I'll move on to number 6.
All right. Have at it. What do you got?
All right. So number 6, I got a TV show.
Okay.
And it didn't feel right to have a top 10 guilty pleasures and not have a reality TV show on there, right?
Certainly did not. I can tell you that I've got one as well.
Okay. So I limited it to one. So this is my one guilty pleasure reality show. Not that it's the only one I watch, but it's the one I've taken to represent. And this is going to blow your mind. All right. It's on HGTV.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
It is Property Brothers.
Oh, is it one of those, like, you know, we rehab houses and stuff like that?
Yeah. All right.
There's like 10 million of those.
There are a bunch, but this one is maybe the most well-known, or one of the more well-knowns. I think their recent season got like 2 million viewers each episode.
Holy crap.
One of HGTV's highest rated shows, and it was like the number 3 primetime show in 2017. Like, if you're into these, you've probably heard of Property Brothers. So it's Drew and Jonathan Scott. They're twin brothers, Canadian, or originally, I think they live in Las Vegas now. But one is a real estate agent and the other is a licensed contractor, right? So they go and they find some family who, you know, because they've had kids or some other reason, they need a new house, a bigger house, a different house, whatever. And so the beginning of the episode, it's the one brother, they're doing house hunting, and the whole idea of the show is that they're fixer-uppers, right? They pick like a shitty house that they get for cheap, and then they get the contractor to like spruce it up for them, and then they move in, right?
Yeah, and it's all about doing it on budget and
on time. And oh, look, shocking! There's mold here in this house that's 100 years old.
I'm sure every episode, like, there's this wild, unexpected thing that looks like it's going to sink the entire project.
And then somehow they figure it out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you get the idea. Very formulaic, I guess. Kind of like
it's Law and Order.
Yeah, it is.
With houses.
Like, first they go through 2 houses and they narrow it down to 2, and then they show them, this is my plan of how I change this one and this one. Which one do you pick? And then it's, we submitted an offer. I don't know if they'll take it, but we need it to fit the budget. And then, like, she likes this type of decor and he likes this kind. And how do they shop together for the pieces? And how,
You know what always
that type of
pisses
thing.
me off about those shows, though? Is they all,
What?
like, every single person that they show on there is always like, here's our budget for a house, $785,000.
Yeah,
what the hell? Like, you can't relate to that at all. I'm like, they need to start doing that for people whose budget for a house is $150,000.
And I'll give the show credit. There are some episodes like that.
They need to do one that's like studio apartments in Chicago or something.
Well, obviously, the appeal of the show is you at the end see like a gorgeous house.
The
cool shit
appeal is living vicariously, right?
Yeah. And they're nice, funny, charismatic guys. And show, they kind of are in on the joke.
People love a good makeover show,
Yeah, and that's the one that I watch. I think I've seen every single episode of Property Brothers. So.
Well, all right, you probably shouldn't have admitted that. Like, if it's something that when you catch it, but...
Well, I may have downloaded some episodes. But then, you just binge it, commercial free.
You just said, I've got to have more of this. I'm going to pay for it.
Well, I didn't pay for it, but that's all right.
You just incriminated yourself in a federal offense.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't sell it or anything.
You didn't pay for it.
Personal.
Your grandma did.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. And once again, Colby gets us out of trouble.
Well, you're the one who usually puts us in it, so that's fine.
As I recall, it was always you turning around to someone after a movie ended when we were 16 years old and saying, that would have been a lot better if you hadn't talked through the entire goddamn thing.
That's true. I did do that.
And then you go into the bathroom and I'm standing there next to the guy who's on his first date with a woman and he's going, "What's your friend's deal, man?" Da-da-da. And I'm like, "Yeah, you got a problem with him?"
You are my enforcer. You're bigger than me. You gotta
nowhere to be seen.
It's after a movie. I gotta piss.
And you did that so often.
Do you remember what movie that was?
Left it to me.
This woman behind us talked and asked asinine questions like, "Who's that again?" It's like, maybe if you shut up and listen, you would know who that is. This is during, what was it? It was the Scorsese movie. What movie was it? Oh, Gangs of New York. Oh, I'm watching this like pretty good, complex, 3-hour-long Scorsese gangster film, and this woman is just commentary through the whole thing. I'm surprised I didn't turn around and yell during the middle of the movie.
So yeah, and the worst part is like the credits roll, and I know exactly what's gonna happen. Like I know exactly what's gonna happen because I can see you during the whole movie looking over your shoulder.
Fuming, yeah.
and like again, as Scott has said before, he is a habitual line stepper. And he used to constantly put me in these situations where he would do something insane with the understanding that if someone was going to get the shit kicked out of him, it was going to be me.
It was going to be you defending me, yeah. Why not?
Oh.
I have a bodyguard. I can say whatever the fuck I want.
So this movie ends. Scott stands up, and I can just see the steam coming out of his ears because you're talking about a person here. And if you still do this, please tell me you still do this. Because I remember this may have been the hardest I've ever laughed in my entire life.
What?
I can't remember what we went to see, but we sit down.
I might.
And you start getting... You start getting comfortable, kind of settling into your seat.
I know what you're about to say.
And the lights go down. And all of a sudden I hear this little like crinkling. I look over and Scott's
opening what looks like a Band-Aid. And I'm like, so I just kind of observe. I'm going, the fuck's going on here? He puts on one of those Breathe Right strips. And I said to him, what the fuck are you doing? And he's completely like, he's appalled that I would even ask such a question. What?
Seems obvious to me.
What? I like to be able to breathe while I'm watching the movie.
I had a bit of a cold. I didn't want the sound of my stuffy nose distracting me from the movie.
You're so full of crap. You did it multiple times. And I'm sitting there, and we get into this huge argument, like as the opening credits are coming up. We're sitting there arguing with each other because I'm telling him, I'm not going to sit next to you. If you're wearing that thing, you better take it off right now. Oh my God.
Everyone should have the joy of going to see a movie with me one day. It's really a fun time.
Oh, no, it is the worst. I can't, like, it's taking something that is almost always pleasurable and completely destroying the experience.
I like movie theaters that are like aggressive and angry when they tell you no talking, don't come in late, we will kick you out of the theater if we see your phone screen come on. I'm like, yes. Actually, you should take them outside and shoot them. Like, that is, yeah, I'm all for that.
So you can imagine how Mr. Breathe Right Strip would react when someone was talking through a film that we were going to see. And
exactly.
Just to clarify, we saw a ton of movies when we were in high school because that was the only thing to do where we lived.
This is true. That might be why I became a filmmaker, because it's all we had for a while there.
It all goes back to Breathe Right strips.
No. All right.
Oh, I had to get up and I had to go outside of the theater because I was crying. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you idiot.
Anyway, number 6, Property Brothers, HGTV.
Now, again, Emily, I know I ask you to weigh in on so much, but you're such a valuable source of entertaining information for me.
No.
Will you please let me know if the Breathe Right strips are still a thing?
They're not. They didn't work well enough. Anyway.
You go into the movie theater with a full goddamn CPAP?
No, that does a different thing, Colby. All right.
Go see you going up to the poor little 16-year-old clerk. I'm going to need an outlet and a little bit of distilled water.
No, because that would make way too much noise. I would never take that
that's
to
noisy.
What are you talking about?
How inconsiderate.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right. Number 6 for you. Guilty pleasures.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I didn't think to put Breathe Right strip wearing on my top 10. It's not coming up. Spoiler.
These aren't even the worst stories I have. It's amazing.
Just save them. We got more pods to do.
We know. They have to come up organically.
Yeah.
All right. I should do a top 10 stories about Scott in high school.
All right. Number 6 already.
All right, number 6. Whew. So
breathe. You can do it.
We've been talking about like the laziness of Hollywood when it comes to producing original screenwriting, right?
Yes.
We kind of touched on that. You talked about how He-Man is being remade or rebooted, whatever you want to call it, right? Now,
and was a Star Wars ripoff, yeah.
I have been advocating fiercely for my number 6 to be rebooted. All right.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to see it with today's special effects. Because it flew under the radar. I remember seeing it when I was a kid.
What's the year?
Why you always got to do this to me?
Sorry.
I didn't
I
do
could guess it
research.
if you give me the year. You never
Hold
do.
on. I'm
All
going to
right.
look it up right now. I have a guess, but I could be way wrong. All right. So the year is 1991.
1991.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if I have a guess. All right, keep going.
The film is The Rocketeer.
Oh, damn it. I should have thought of that.
Yeah.
I know you love that movie. Yeah.
So The Rocketeer is based on the comic books. And The Rocketeer is about this stunt pilot named Cliff Secord, who, and it's about, it takes place during World War II, and the Nazis have invented this new technology for their troops. It's a jetpack. And these mobsters in the movie, it's Al Capone, right?
Right.
They get their hands on it, but they stumble into Cliff Secord's world and make a mistake, and he somehow gets possession of this jetpack. And now everyone, the mafia is out to get it. The Nazis are out to get it. The American government's out to get it. Everybody wants this thing. And so he and Peeves, played by Alan Arkin.
Right, Alan Arkin.
That's right. And Jennifer Connelly was in it too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
and isn't James Bond in it too? Timothy Dalton?
Timothy Dalton plays the villain. And so The Rocketeer is this amazing movie about this dude who gets a jetpack and has to save his girlfriend from this dashing movie star who's a secret Nazi. It's just...
I must admit, it is pretty great.
It's freaking amazing. It's completely a throwback to like the pulpy 1940s comics and strips and stuff like that. It's a big throwback to that, and it's freaking amazing. You know who plays Howard Hughes in it?
Isn't it John Locke from Lost?
Yes, it is. It is. With hair and a mustache.
That's right. Don't question my knowledge.
I'm really impressed that you knew that fast. I gotta say, you're solid. You're rock solid on this stuff.
Don't test me.
So anyway, The Rocketeer, I love that movie. When I was a kid, and they sold Rocketeer baseball cards with sticks of gum in them.
It's a hero with a really cool helmet and a jetpack. Like, it's hard not to like.
You had me at the poster.
Like, that's all I need to know.
Right.
He's got a jetpack and a cool helmet.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I obviously, as you did with Masters of the Universe, correctly, I've showed this to my son, who, being awesome, loves it.
Excellent. All right.
And so, look, this again, I think falls into like cult classic, maybe more than.
Yeah.
I mean, this is definitely not critically.
You're not the only one who likes it. Yeah.
And it's definitely not a movie that critics took to.
Yeah. I think really in the Masters of the Universe type vein, I think the soundtrack by James Horner of the movie is great. It's got great themes and soundtrack.
Soundtrack's fantastic.
And the special effects are a little dated.
I think that ultimately it was a disappointment because they did put a lot of money into promoting it. Like, I remember The Rocketeer, like there were toys, there were, like I said, the baseball cards. Yeah, they wanted it to
be a really big thing.
There were, I want to say like Pizza Hut or something had a promo. It was just, there was a ton of stuff going on. And
I'm pretty sure like the explosion of the Zeppelin alone cost like a ton of money.
Oh, jeez.
Because, there's no CGI yet, 91.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So they're doing it like early Star Wars style. Just make it a mini.
Yeah, they're building, scale models, that are like a 12 feet instead of, 100 feet long. But it's still pretty big, and they actually blow it up. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just so good. It's so much fun. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
I love that movie. And
I like it too. Good pick. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel guilty about it at all. I don't know why. I think I just want to talk about The Rocketeer.
No, that's fine. I think critic consensus, especially at the time, was that it's not great. So,
Well, I think critical consensus even now is, I don't think that time has been very kind to it. In fact, I would say it's more forgotten than it is anything.
Yeah, that's true. If you haven't heard of The Rocketeer and you're like, what in the world are they talking about? Just Google.
Dude,
you'll see
so much fun.
You'll see the poster and the images, and you'll be sold too.
Yes,
it's a fun movie.
As soon as you see that helmet, you're in. You're in.
Yep.
It's one of the coolest helmets ever designed. Like, it's up there with Darth Vader.
You're not wrong. It is a really cool helmet.
I thought I was going to get some pushback on that, but thank you. Thank you for agreeing with me, because I feel like that is very true.
Yeah, I'm a supportive friend, not one who ridicules and makes fun of your choices of your list. I'm a caring, thoughtful individual. Son of a bitch. All right.
Oh, man. Yeah. So The Rocketeer is, and to go back to my original point.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this right now, because I have tweeted at them before, begging them to make a film version of this again. Pick out some young, unknown Hollywood star, put him in it, put him in the suit. Let's do this. All right? I'm talking to you right now. Forget about Scott. Forget about our listeners. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to tweet this directly to them. Disney, I know that you have all the money in the world. I know you've got Star Wars. You've got the Avengers. You've got so many things on your plate. Throw a little money at The Rocketeer. Do me a personal favor and remake The Rocketeer. I want this to happen. Remake it. All right? I will use my podcast to get you all of your money back. And then some.
Yeah, sure.
This is my personal plea to Disney. Please, if you reboot everything in the freaking world. Reboot The Rocketeer.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to reach anyone's ears. But,
well, yeah.
If in years from now, they just randomly, not because of what you just said, remake it, you can totally take credit for it.
I will play this, and I will take credit for it.
Absolutely.
Just
you're on the record.
You throw my names at the very end of the credit. Just say, for Colby.
Yeah, good luck with that. All
right. We love you here at List the Podcast Rocketeer. We love you.
We like you very much.
Love. It's love.
All right. Well, there we are. We're halfway.
All right.
Halfway through our guilty pleasures.
There it is. So far, I thought this episode was going to suck. I'm not going to lie. So far, it's been fun. It's been really fun. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll be back with the second half.
All right.